All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to each and every one of you out there. You are here with me, Jermaine Jackson, for another celebration of excellence by the way of the New Beginnings podcast with Jay Jackson. Don't forget that as you are under the sound of my voice, that you can follow the New Beginnings podcast on my YouTube page. It's under the New Beginnings podcast. Also, you can follow it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jermaine Jackson, where the episodes are also premiering for the New Beginnings podcast. Please don't forget, it's one podcast consisting of 3 shows. So there's something for each and every one of you on the New Beginnings podcast. But on today, on this episode of the Celebration of Excellence, my special guest is Michelle Riggins. I'm thankful that she took the time to be a part of the podcast. Through the power of networking, we are fellow alums from the Mighty Rich East High School. And someone suggested that she would be an excellent guest on my podcast. So I reached out and she has done me the gracious favor of appearing on the podcast. Michelle, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you for sharing your platform. My name is Michelle Riggins. I am the 4th oldest of 10 children, 7 boys, 3 girls. I am a PK child. I am the mother of a dope son and daughter. My daughter is 12. My son is 3, and a bonus brilliant son of my children's father. I've watched him grow up from infancy to a young man, and he is a great big brother, a great example of a big brother outside of being a mother, which is my very important role. Um, I strive to expand the kingdom. Professionally, I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been in the healthcare field for over 22 years. I've been in the nursing profession for over 15 years.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Michelle, for just giving us a small introduction into who you are. And as we continue to go through this interview, we're just going to talk about you and we're going to celebrate you and your life. Now, one thing you stated as you were presenting yourself to everyone is that you are a PK kid. I always find it fascinating for those of us that, grew up in church, PK kids and all that stuff, to see where we are in life. Sometimes life is a little different from us with some of the things that our parents raised us. I've been blessed that I know your parents, especially your father. He was a close friend to my former pastor. Every conversation I've ever had with your father has always been enlightening. He's very encouraging. One of the happiest people I've ever seen. I can say I've never seen your dad frown about nothing at all. Every time I just literally about 2 weeks ago, I just seen him in a grocery store and it did my heart good. My former pastor, Charles P. Nelson, spoke very highly of your father. I know he served under Pastor L.T. Hutton for years at Holy Ghost Living Center. So, just kind of going through the history. So I have a lot of respect for him and your mother. I've been to their ministry before. They've come to our ministry. Your dad has spoken. So I have so much respect for him. So growing up as a PK kid and just knowing your parents, you're the 4th of 10 children. I just want to know about the impact that your parents, because from what I see and know, I think you turned out to be a wonderful, outstanding young woman. And I mean young, we're not old by any means, no matter how many years it was since we graduated high school.
Absolutely.
And I believe that the way that your parents raised, the things that they have instilled in you, can you just give us a little bit about the impact that they have had on your life?
I am so grateful to have been born in that family. As a kid, I hated it. We had some stuff that I don't agree with now, but that was a culture, and that was how we were raised, and that was the things that we had to deal with. But looking back as an adult and as a parent, I would not change a thing. A lot of the values and morals that were instilled in me as a kid, I instill in my children. And my parents actually helped instill a lot of the morals and values with my children. With a rigorous work schedule, they're instilling the things that have kept me and were my foundation. They're instilling it in my children. So I am forever grateful for being born into that family because I've seen the opposite side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a good foundation, that is very important. As we can see with like the news and everything that's going on today, like these children don't have good upbringing sometimes. That's a lot of the problems parents are expecting the society and school to raise their children and not instilling the values that they need to actually survive in the world. And that can stop a lot of the problems that we see today. So I'm
Absolutely.
forever grateful for the parents that I was blessed with.
Thank you for that. I think it's very impactful what you said, that when we're growing up in that lifestyle and circumstance, time as children, we cannot truly appreciate it at that time. As I tell my children, a lot of things that I'm teaching and raising, you don't appreciate it now. You don't like it. You can't stand it. There's gonna come a day you're gonna look back, and
Yes.
you're gonna have children of your own, and you're gonna be grateful for the way that I raised you and the things that I taught you. As I said, because I was in your place at one point, and now at this age, I look back and I'm so grateful for my mother, the value she instilled in me through the Word of God, through church, the conversation she had. Especially, my mother has been going for 11 years now, and I say I wouldn't be the man I am without her, with everything she instilled in me, whether I wanted to hear it or not, whether I wanted to do it or not. I
Mm-hmm.
find myself living that way, instilling those same values, raising my children the same way. So I think that's very powerful, that and then to have your parents as the grandparents to yet pass that on to the next generation is very powerful. Which I always tell my kids, that's kind of the one thing that's like I look at and say, man, if my parents were here, what they could have
Mm-hmm.
taught my kids, because they were very little when my mom passed, but I wish that she would have been here. But grateful that I have other people in their lives that are agree with the same values that I have, to raise them in that part. And our children need that. And I totally
They
agree with
really
you.
do.
That would fix a lot of issues in the world. If
Yeah.
we have it starts at home, and people don't
Sure.
understand the value of having those generational grandparents, great grand people teaching, and everybody's on the same thing. You don't send them to grandma and grandpa house and they putting something totally different in them opposed to what you're teaching them. When everybody is kind of on the same plane, that's only benefiting the child. So thank you for those statements about about how good that was. When you look back at it now, like they trained us up in a way that we should go, so that when we got old, like I said, we're not old, we wouldn't depart
We're
from
not.
it.
Let's be clear.
So, all right. So, and with that, as we talk about that, thank you for talking about your parents and their impact. One of the fascinating things that I found out about you is that you graduated high school early, which is something that I didn't know. I know we both graduated in, 2000, but you graduated early. And when I think back to all those years ago in high school, I didn't notice some of the people that left out of there early. I had the opportunity to leave early, but I stayed for the second semester
Mm-hmm.
because I just wasn't ready to leave yet in my at that time. But what prompted you to graduate from high school early and say, yeah, I'm done. I'm ready for my next stage of life?
First, I want to say that being an adult sometimes can be ghetto, but when you're younger, you want to grow up really fast, and adulting is not all what it's cracked up to be. But on a serious note, my older sister, she graduated a semester early. And at that point, I was just like tired of getting up, going to high school, and I was ready like to progress into something different. And that is really what essentially made the decision for me. Was following behind my older sister's footsteps.
So, did you get out a semester early? It was like just a semester
It
early,
was just a
correct?
semester early, so I got out a semester early. I hadn't got accepted into any colleges at that time, so my sister, she joined the army. So she was like, "Well, you can't be just sitting around here not doing anything. So let me take you down to the army recruiting station." And I was the person that said, I always said, I'm not joining the army. I'm never doing that. But here I was. 3 weeks after I went down to the army recruiting station, they took me to take the ASVAB, and 3 weeks later, I was shipped off to basic training. So that semester that I was initially supposed to be off, I was in basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Time out. Wait a minute. All right, wait, time out. So you don't you graduated early. Like you said, you got tired of getting up. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
My kids complain about getting up all the time. And in your mind, you want to start into college, there's nothing like that yet. But your sister's in the army, takes you down there. 3 weeks later, you're in basic training.
I
and
was.
that was not your plan. How did you stick with it? Like, if that was me at that time, around the time I think I made 18, ain't no way I would have quit. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I would have passed. I couldn't, because like you said, it should have been a semester off. You ain't got to get up early. Maybe you could have got you a little job or something. And how did you stick with it at that age, at that time? Now, if you're saying you were mature enough to handle it, because I know me, at that time, I wasn't mature enough. I was mature, but not to handle being in no basic training. Somebody running me around, giving me orders, and it takes a certain level of discipline and maturity, I believe, to be in any type of military training. How is it that you were able to handle that just 3 weeks after literally saying I'm done with high school?
So I would say that I have been very mature for most of my, I would say I was a very mature person, being that I'm like the oldest of four, of the fourth oldest of like 10 children. So I had six brothers under me. Um, and my older siblings, like my sister that's older than me, she's 5 years ahead of me. So essentially, I was the oldest at home at that time. So I
Mm-hmm.
always had to be responsible. So the maturity level I feel like was there. Um, and I mean, we grew up in Chicago Heights in the hood. So it's either do something of yourself, be a
Right.
bum like some examples that you've seen in a community, or make something out of yourself. So my parents were not having the latter. You're not going to be a bum. You're going to do something. That's one thing my parents instilled in us. Like, no, you're going to go to school. You're going to go to college. You're going to make something out yourself. Either you're going to go to the military or you're going to go to college and make something out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So there I was at the recruiting station, enlisted. And that was one of the best decisions I could have made. Like those,
Wow.
those are my closest friends that I have. My best friend is the God, her and her husband are the godparents of my children. I've went to war with these people. We still communicate with one another. There's a bond that sometimes it's closer than blood relatives. So that was the best decision I could have made. At that time, 3 weeks before, I do believe in divine time, and I was second guessing, like, God, I don't want to do this. Like, I was scared. I'm like, I don't want to go to war. I don't want to die. And I remember I went to church, like it was maybe a week before I was supposed to be shipped off. I don't even remember this lady's name, but I was going to the bathroom and she stopped me, and she pretty much, to paraphrase what she said, is sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do. And that
Mm-hmm.
just was confirmation that, like, this is what God wanted me to do at that time. And that was one of the best decisions I could have made. It has benefited my life, has benefited my children's life, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, so how many years were you in the military?
10 years. 10
10
plus.
years.
Yes.
Then I'm so interested in the military because I know that wasn't a choice for me. I had to go to school. I wasn't built. Not saying I couldn't have done it. I just know that my thing was always, if a war break out, I ain't trying to be putting nobody box. They send a note home to my mom when your baby ain't make it. That was my thing. So I was like, it was either college or military or work. I chose school. But you're here, still here with us, even in the midst. You look back 10 years ago, it was stuff going on in the world. But what I hear a lot of people say about the benefits of the military, even the benefits for when you get out of it. And I know some people that went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to do 4 years here and there. And then they end up doing 20, 30 years in the military. And I think a lot of times we don't talk enough about the military because people always are talking about, oh, it's going to be a war to break out. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to do this. But they don't talk about the other side of it, the educational benefits, the financial benefits, the care that they give you, even when you're outside of the military. If you could just give us a picture into that for those that may have children that are at that point where they're trying to decide, is it going to be work? Is it going to be college? Is it going to be military? And because you just spoke that it's the benefits it has provided for you and your children. How has the military been so given so much potential and effectiveness in your life?
So we think about war, but the military is just like another institution. Like, it's a business. Like, you go to college to work in the corporate world. People join the military and become lifelong. They make it a lifelong career. They offer free healthcare, free shelter. You don't have to worry about where you are going to eat. They provide money for your clothing. It's so many benefits. They pay for college. Um, After, if you don't utilize the benefits for college, you can inherit those benefits to your children. You're guaranteed home loan because you're a veteran. There are a lot of benefits with having veteran status. You get discounts. You get discounts on travel, free airline tickets, or a very, very discounted rate. Um, Great discounts on life insurance, health
Mm.
insurance. Um, it's so many benefits. Some of the things that I'm finding out that I didn't even know about. I was the and one of the things that I was so afraid of, a war happening after enlisted, that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
The war happened and 9/11 initiated Iraqi freedom and all the war that had been going on for like 20 plus years. We were the first rotation over there
Wow.
in Iraq. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And I mean, you go through a lot that grows you up, and you value life. You value life, you value your family, you value your purpose, you value why you were created. Like I was in multiple attacks. I was in an IED attack. I was coming home one time on leave um, at the Baghdad airport, and they were shooting mortars at our plane. I seen the fire outside of my window while I was on the airline. And I thought that I was going to die. Like the only thing that I could say was Jesus, bringing back to that foundation how I was raised, that
Mm-hmm.
like God will He will give His angels charge over you.
Yes.
Because before that, like maybe a week or two before that, it was other aircrafts that were shot down by those mortars. But God gave the pilot the know-how to, and the angels. I know it was angels around us because I come from prayer warriors, and nothing happened to us. Like, you do have like some flashbacks, some type of mental problems, some type of, flashbacks that happen. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I know I was purposed and I was destined for a reason. That's why God spared my life at that time. So, but in the end, I would not change a thing. Like my best friends I met in the military. So, and I'm grateful that I made the decision to follow that plan that he had.
Wonderful. And I thank you for just, briefly sharing with us just some of the things that you even went through while being in the military, because we hear the kinds of people with PTSD, people that see things in the military, in war and things like that. They make movies about it, shows, and I'm sure we all know somebody that is dealing with some type of post-traumatic stress from being in the military. And so that's very important that, like you said, you have the flashbacks, you see things, but you know, it's thanks be unto God for the stability of your mind, your emotions, and things like that. Because some people go through that type of stuff and they don't recover, or it sends them down a different type of road in life because of what they've experienced. So thank you for just sharing that the little tidbit with us and the viewers and those that are listening, because that's very important for something to know, that because some people would even use that. Oh, don't go into the military because you might see things that can mess your mind up. But there's always another side of a story. I always tell people there's always an exception to what we conceive, what we think about, that there's somebody who survived, that there's somebody who overcame it, that may have went through the same things, same trauma, but they came out of it all right. And we need to let people know that we can't always shine the negative light on things. That's one of my goals of this podcast. When I bring people on, I want to bring the positive light to many things and a positive outcome to a lot of things. So let's get it ready. We know the world is full of negativity. It's full of putting things down. And
Mhm.
I definitely don't want to glorify that. I want to glorify things that are positive, things that are uplifting to each and every one. All right. So you do the 10 years in the military. And
Mhm.
as I see nurse practitioner, at what point did you make the decision to become a nurse practitioner? Because I know my mom was a nurse. I know that is not an easy thing to do. I know people now that are going to school for nursing and they want to tear their hair out. The stress that they go through. I know that that state board exam ain't no joke. I've seen my niece go through it. I know some other young people. It's a young lady in my church that's going through it. I know another young lady who's in her last year of it, and I know that profession is no joke. And just to get to that point to finish it, the schooling, what prompted you to go into that such a challenging and difficult field?
Um, so when I was deployed, I seen some things that I felt like I wanted to be of service to once I got home. Because initially, before the war had started, before I was deployed, I was gonna go away to college. I had did the community college while I was drilling with the reserve, and I was gonna do ROTC when I transferred to Western, and my major was computer science.
Mm-hmm.
Totally shifted after I deployed. Um, and just to mention, like my aunt always called me her nurse. Like my aunt was an evangelist. So I used to follow her around in revivals, and she would always call me her nurse. And I didn't even realize that until I graduated nursing school. Like, man, my auntie Marla used to call me her nurse all the time. Um, but seeing what I seen over in the deployment is what shifted my major into that profession. And I would like to say nursing is traumatic. Nursing school is traumatic. Going through that, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe nursing. And because it is a serious profession. Like now, I see some new age nurses. They don't have the passion. They feel like it's that nurses make a lot of money, which is not true. Not
Mm.
not for the things that we deal with. We don't make enough money for the things that we deal with. Um, so I want to say it was like a calling that it's a service and it's a ministry. And that's how I got into that profession. And yeah, it's very challenging. It can be very hard on your body and your family because you're going in, you're servicing others, and you're you're taking in those emotions and those burdens that those patients that you're taking care of are dealing with, and then you're bringing it home to your family. So sometimes if there
Mm-hmm.
isn't a balance, you sacrifice so much in that profession, but it's very gratifying also. I was in the nursing role for 8 years, and then I got my master's to become a provider. So now I'm able to manage patients, and that's gratifying also, where I see them when they come in, and they're very sick. And then I see the opposite side of the spectrum when, like, the care that I'm ordering, I see it on the opposite side where they are doing well. It's like they're totally different people. So that is
Mm-hmm.
very gratifying as well. And I feel like my life has just been service. I've seen it with my parents being community parents, like as I stated earlier, some kids didn't have their parents. So
Right.
they would seek solitude in my parents' house. It was like they felt peace. They would come over there, and she never knew my mom and dad never knew a stranger. They never turned anybody away. Anybody could come and eat at their house. If they didn't have a place to go for the holidays, they could come to our house.
Wow.
So our life was, that's all I seen as I grew up. So I don't know any other way but to be of service to others. That is our life. That's what I seen. That's what we were called to.
Well, wonderful. And I thank you for your service, not only in the military, but also as a nurse practitioner. And before we switch to next, I want to stay there just a little bit long. So I have this question. My wife is a medical assistant, works at the
Okay.
doctor's office. We hear about the doctor, nurse practitioners, but one thing I've noticed, I was in the hospital a few months ago, was getting something checked out. And I went to the back, they take your blood pressure and all that stuff. And I'm noticing a shift because you said some nurses now aren't as passionate. I'm used to when I grew up, you see nurses, and I'm not trying to put a label on age, but they may maybe 40s, 50s, bit older, more mature, more experienced. That passion is there, that sincerity is there to serve. But when I went to the back, I didn't see that older group of people. It was people my age, 40, 30, 20s, just a whole younger group. And I've never seen that many young people as nurses, physicians assistants, seeing more male nurses and ones drawing the blood. So I'm seeing a kind of I don't know if it's a culture shift, an age shift, to where it's a little bit a younger group of nurses and healthcare professionals are now coming. So when you say that you don't see that passion, do you think people are just focused on the money? Is it something with the age? Because we know if you look at 15, 20 years, there are some maturity issue between, I would say, our generation, the generations that's coming up. What do you think it is? When it comes to healthcare and you're taking care of people, I think you have to be passionate. You have to have a heart to serve, because these people are coming in looking to you for support and to help them. But if somebody's there all about the money, or they're saying, I'm not taking it seriously, you can endanger the life of somebody else, because you're there to provide a great service to someone and to assist them and help them. And I'm seeing like this shift, and I'm not going to say they didn't care. I was taken care of when they took care of me. But when you said that, it just sparked my mind. That it made me think, and I'm asking you if you yourself have seen that shift since you've been in the healthcare field.
So it can be for me, I feel like it's a range of a lot of different things that has turned the healthcare profession. I would like to say this, like we need to give our healthcare staff grace. Like when everybody else got a break, we were still humping and working endless hours and sacrificing time for our family. Seeing it was COVID, the pandemic was very traumatic for the healthcare profession.
Absolutely.
Seen a lot of death. It's a lot of professional burnout from just being overworked and just seeing a lot of tragedy. But I would like to say that the newer, and it's not all bad, because I feel like that we tolerated a lot of things in our profession, my generation, and the newer generation, they are not having that.
Very true.
I'm here for it all, because nurses are like the backbone of the healthcare system, and they have been overworked and underpaid for a very long time. But since the pandemic, it actually showed nursing that they need us to survive. They're making millions and billions on our back, and they don't regulate patient staff ratios. Their pay is at the bottom of the totem pole. During the pandemic, that was like the first time that nurses were actually getting what they are worth. So I'm kind of grateful for the newer generation. I feel like a lot of them are not as trained as thoroughly, because a lot of them had to be rushed through school. So they don't have that thorough training that I was afforded to when I graduated over 15 years ago. And then a lot of nurses have left the profession because they are traumatized and they are burnt out. So it's just going to take a lot of time and teaching to let them know, or eventually they'll just leave, because you can't stay in a profession like this for a long time without having the heart to serve. You need the passion and the heart to serve. But I do like where I see the profession is going with the newer generation also, because they're not staying at facilities that are mistreating them and are paying them what they're adequately worth. Like, we pretty much see everything about the patient. We see them, we're with them 24/7. So when the nurses call the provider to let them know like a change in condition, the nurses are the doctor's eyes and ears. So depending on what that nurse is expressing to the physician, it can be to the detriment of the patient, or it can save the patient's life. So it would behoove the higher ups to listen to the nurse and treat them well.
And I'm in agreement with you. If we had more time, I would ask you. So I have so many healthcare questions, because you're a nurse practitioner. Our doctors more valued over the nurse practitioners.
I get it all the time. I be wanting to tell people, like, quit calling me, because you know how much this information costs.
Yeah, start charging for your service. And it's so, like I said, I love talking to my wife. She's a medical assistant, and just the things I hear and the stories. And my mom, she was an RN, and actually had the opportunity. She worked in a nursing home. I worked in dietary when I was a teenager, and I I was blessed for 2.5 years to work for the state of Illinois at the mental health facility, Shapiro and Ludeman. So seeing even that side of healthcare, but to see what the nurses had to go through, I was on their side. Like, you all deal with a lot, and
They
they
do.
were not appreciated for their work and their service and their time and all that they dealt with, the way they were treated. My heart used to go out to them, like, for all that y'all went through in school just to gain the knowledge and understanding to come and serve people and to be treated like this in that capacity where I was at, I was like, it's not fair. And I saw many of them leaving and going on. There was a serious shortage because they just was like, I'm not going to put up with this. Not
Yeah.
for what y'all paying me. I used to always hear that, for what y'all paying me, I ain't finna. I do this because I love to do it. I love
Yeah.
to serve and help others. It ain't about the money, but I ain't finna put up with all the extra. It ain't worth it. I can go somewhere else and not have the level of stress and make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
So I definitely, whenever I get people that are nurses, I love to hear what they have to say, because yes, like you said, you have to have a heart to serve to do that position. Because I agree with you. When I worked for those 2.5 years for the state, I saw nurses that were not appreciated on the level that they should have been for the amount of work that they were doing. So once
Mm-hmm.
again, thank you for sharing. And I wish we could stay right there, because like I said, I had a lot of questions, but we got to move on. So if you talk about your service and the heart to serve, a mother, 2 children, just tell me what it means to you to be a mother, because I understand the impact that your mom, your dad had. Now you're in that position when you're a parent. I think you said you have one child that is 12, one that's 3.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice little gap. Bless your
Yeah,
heart.
that's a crazy gap. Yeah. That was, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Ooh,
Um,
that's for y'all parents that's doing that gap, man. I'll pray. My youngest is finna be 18. He finna be out of school. My oldest
wow.
girl is 19. Now, when I got remarried and got my nice big blended family, the youngest one out of all our kids is 14, but it's still a teenager.
Yeah, that's still,
12 and 3.
I be
So
looking,
I
I be
know you
like, what
love
did
your
I do?
kids. So talk to me about you as a mother and just a joy, because the way you serve people, I know you must be the favorite mama to your children.
Sometimes.
We
Like,
know
they
how these
don't like
kids
it.
feel about us sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they don't like when you tell them no.
Hmm.
But for the most part, being a mother, I never knew how challenging it can be. I be telling my mom all the
Mm.
time, like, how you do it 10 times? Like, 2 of them, like, their personalities, I wouldn't, I don't see myself doing that 10 times. Just um being patient, understanding the different personalities, becoming more selfless,
Yes.
um, just being available emotionally for them. That can be challenging, but those are the best gifts that God could have gifted me with. I love being those two mother at times, sometimes it can be challenging, but
I understand.
for the most part, those are like the best things that could have happened to me.
That's a beautiful statement coming from a mother and any parent. As a father, I've come in these later years of my life to understand there is a bond that a mother has with her children. And I know we have dads. You hear the girl dads with their sons and all of that. And we love our daughters, our sons. Um, even we have kids outside of our kids that are like our children. But I believe a mother has a bond with a child that a father can never understand, because that child is growing inside of you. You're creating a relationship with that child before it ever comes out of your womb. That's something that a man cannot feel, nor do I want to feel, nor do I want to have. I don't want to push nothing out. I don't want nothing growing inside of me as far as child. The kicking, the sickness, all that y'all go through. I want no parts of that. But even in the midst of all that, there's a relationship being created. And I've had to, a younger version of me was not understanding and sympathetic enough toward a mother. Sometimes, fathers, sometimes we can be kind of hard up on our kids, and where a mother is nurturing, more loving, more understanding. And mama can set you straight too. Let's not get it wrong. Mama ain't nothing to play with. But the bond that you all have with your children, I've learned to appreciate and admire it more as a man, as a father, and a mother. Sometimes, no matter how much a child can do, but no matter how much they get on your nerves and tick you off, y'all love for them, you'll still be loving them. I know me as a dad, sometimes I be like, listen, I'm done. When they tripping, I ain't tell them to get away. But mama still, no, we gotta love them. Why? They acting. But mothers, you all are amazing. And the younger version of me couldn't appreciate that like I do now. I had to understand that a mother's love is something totally different that I don't think us as men we can tap into. So it's a blessing that your children have you, and that, like you said, they're the greatest thing that ever happened to you. And I believe, as we've talked in this interview, a lot of great things happen to you in your life. But um, to bring those two here to life and to raise them, to give them those values that your parents gave you, and to, like I said, it's always a blessing to have your parents still here with you to help you raise and nurture them. I just think that's a beautiful thing. And so thank you for sharing that as a mother. And one of the last things, and I see sometimes on your Facebook, I think when you turned 41, you had this little photo out, these pictures you took. Was that for age 41?
Yes.
All right. I'm 41 too. So, like I said, we're not old. We just, anybody born in the 80s, we look good for our age. I just want to put it out there. So, now, as you said, you've always been mature, but you got the old, you're the oldest one in the house. When I look at your pictures, they're not just about the beauty of them, the way you look. I see this confidence in you. This, I think I said, a resurgence in you. Not saying that you haven't always be confident, and it could just be the pose you're doing for the pictures, great outfits, great photo session. But I love to see a confident woman, especially African American woman, because this world sometimes can put a negative light on us as a people, African Americans, people in general, especially women in general. Sometimes just a negative light. And there's just this little bit of your life that you shared with us. A Army veteran, graduated high school early, mother raising two children, nurse practitioner. I look at you as a very strong, confident Black woman that is handling her business, taking care of things, taking care of her kids. Like you said, even as a teenager, at one point I was the oldest in the house, so I was literally assisting with raising my brothers and helping out my parents. That speaks to you a lot. So I just want to ask you, as a person, because I believe that that's what I was looking at, a very confident woman, a woman that's been through some things but has overcame them. That some stuff you have experienced in life that maybe could have took you out, that maybe could have caused you to go another way, you didn't use that as an excuse to fail, to fall off, to not do. You like a woman that just overcame things that some people would use this. That's the reason why I'm in this situation. That's the reason why I didn't do this. My kids don't have it because this happened to me, that happened to me. But I feel like you're a woman that didn't allow yourself to succumb to the excuse, but you said, no, I'm gonna overcome this. Been through some things, experienced some stuff, but I can overcome it because I have to be this. Even if not just for yourself, for my kids, I have to do that. They motivate to do better. So hopefully I'm hitting on it right. If you could just speak to that confidence that I've seen and speak to you as the woman and your level of confidence in who you are just as a person.
So when you know who you belong to and who fights for you, I feel like that is where that comes from. But as I had great parents, my mom was not allowing that. Like, that's life. She would always tell us, you're going to go through a lot more other things than that. And you can't lay down and die. You got to keep going. You have to keep going. The devil cannot hit a moving target. So
that's good.
This happened to me, that doesn't define who I am or what God thinks of me, because I was made in his image. He thinks that I'm like him and I'm perfect. And when you know who you are from the Father's perspective, then can't nobody tell me that. I don't care what you think of me. That's your problem. That's your perspective of me. That's not how I feel about myself. So having a good upbringing and my strong belief and faith in the Father and the path that he has for me is, I feel like that's where the confidence come from.
Well, thank you for that, for letting us know where your confidence is, and I think that's very important for those that are listening. That when you know who you belong to, whose child you are, not only naturally but also spiritually, when God is just ahead of your life, it's another level of confidence. And so, Michelle, I want to thank you just for taking the small amount of time to share your life with us. Like I said, I wish I had more time because I got so many more things to ask you, but I don't want to take up all your day. Is there anything else that you would just like to share with the people, those that are listening? Just any words of wisdom, just anything?
Keep God first in everything you do. You can never go wrong with when He's in every area of your life, and not just when you in trouble.
Mm, you better watch out, man. You helping the people. That's good. That's really good. I like that. So I want to thank you for those words of wisdom. Remember, everybody that's listening, it's a New Beginnings podcast with Jay Jackson. Remember, go to that YouTube page. I need y'all to follow, like, subscribe. Go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts. Always appreciate the support. I appreciate all of my guests. Michelle, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
And hey, continue to check out the New Beginnings podcast. This is the content that I'm putting out. Hope that you all were blessed by this episode of the Celebration of Excellence. And of course, if you know anybody that should be at a podcast, connect with me. Let me know. I love to have guests on that are spreading positivity, words that are uplifting, encouraging, and inspiring others. This is what the New Beginnings podcast is all about, because you can have a new start, a new beginning on life. Thank you. And until next time, we'll see y'all later.
All right, take care.